So, welcome back to part 2. It's Gail with Life Coaching with Gail, and we're on Rodeo Hawke's Bay, and part 2 is with Sonya again. How are you, darling?
Doing really well. How are you?
Not bad. Well, you know.
What a beautiful weather we've got going on.
Oh, look, isn't it just fabulous? It's worth the whole winter.
Definitely.
I feel anyway, but that's me. So, my darling, I had a thought that we'd talk a little bit about you, and because you've done a work in the spiritual field for pretty much most of your life, just because of who you are. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your growing up life? Things you noticed, or things that you used to just think were normal that everybody did?
Well, I've been tapped into energy work since virtually I was born, or even beforehand. I was very lucky enough to be born into a family where we were allowed to express and learn about different things that were normally not open discussions in households.
Definitely not in my time.
No, things like energy, spirituality, things like that. So I definitely knew I had a gift from when I was very small. I would have a habit of talking to my sisters in their head and without verbally speaking, and I'd have them running off doing jobs for me and bringing me food and things like that, which would amuse my mother quite greatly, and just kind of have that telecommunication thing going. So yes, it's definitely been something that has always been in my life. I was able to develop those gifts over the years, although we had to put sometimes I'd have to bring it down a little bit, just out of fear of acceptance and things like that. And yeah.
So you would have to have learnt to fit in.
Yes,
as well.
Absolutely. Yes. And that brought about its own challenges too. When usual society, sometimes that can be a daunting thing when you've got the ability to see that past and through things that others may not see and feel and be part of. So that can be a difficult process when you're growing up.
Yeah, but your mum was good with that, wasn't she? She was able to help you with those things.
She was.
To understand them.
Yes, she did. Because I thought everyone was the same. So I didn't see it as being anything different or unusual or special of any kind. I just thought this is how everyone was. So I did have to learn that, and I did learn sometimes harshly that others didn't feel the same way or didn't, believe in those things or whatnot.
Or what I found, it didn't appreciate you knowing things and seeing things.
Absolutely.
And saying them more particularly.
Absolutely. There was a very real fear around people, and I did have one incident as a child which really scared me and kind of awakened me to that side of things, and that's when I was a child, and I had a teacher that was very fearful of my gift. She had actually seen it one day for herself, and yes, wanted to do a séance and cleanse me of my demonic spirits and etc.
Even to that extent.
Yes. So that was very, very scary for a 6-year-old because I was 6.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
And I had my mother down at the school and everything because the teacher was convinced that I was possessed and needed a cleansing. And that's when my mother explained to me that not, this wasn't, this was very special, and what I could do was a very special thing, and others out there can at times be not so understanding or kind, and
Yes.
So I reined it in quite a lot after that point, but it was still very much allowed to be explored within my own circle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It must have been, looking back, because you don't always see these things as a child, but from when I grew up, everything was squashed.
Yes.
Within families, it was not just squashed, it was, it was really downplayed. You were made to feel really odd, really weird, like there was something
Very much
really
so.
wrong
Yes,
with
absolutely.
you, and society as well at that time. So growing up in a family that was supportive, that understood those aspects, did that help you feel more comfortable with those gifts, more curious about what else you could do with those gifts or anything?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a little bit of a roller coaster ride, because you don't want to be different from everybody else. I think it's very normal for human beings to want to fit in and to be
Yes.
the same, and to follow the mass, follow the group. And I was definitely one of those. I just wanted to be the same as everybody else. I didn't want to stick out or be different or anything like that. And so I did struggle with it for a little bit, especially going into teenage years, because that's especially when you don't want to be in the out. You want to be trying to be part of your peer group a lot, so having gifts and it's kind of interesting, because I was very, very worried about how people would take me with the little quirks that I have and the little bits that would just come out, because as much as we can contain things, the truth of the matter is we're a bit like a hole, a bucket with holes popping out of it. If we don't stay true to our authentic selves, then we're just going to create these little holes, and eventually it's just going to all come flooding out anyway.
Absolutely.
So of course, little bits I'd be containing things at that time, but little bits would pop out, and my friends in my group at the time actually thought that it was actually really wonderful and mysterious and intriguing and all those kinds of things, which was fantastic for me, because there were others that did think that it was very odd and weird and not normal, and so thankfully the good support of my friends and things were more than enough to outcater those other things. But yes, it was difficult at times to grow up with it, because you're always, like I said, whether you want to be your authentic self or not, your authentic self has a way of popping out.
Absolutely.
And it's not something that can be easily masked or contained, is what I've learned growing up. So the older I've gotten, the more I've realised that it's just better off to be yourself.
Yes, which is
and
November, of course.
yes,
which
exactly.
Is perfect, isn't it?
And well, absolutely, this is a perfect month if that's what you're looking, to do, is to kind of let go a little bit of the restraints of what people think of you, and what gifts that you may have in there that you've been holding off. Out of fear of other people's opinions, basically.
Yeah. And it's actually a form of honesty.
It
because
is.
we all wear masks in society. We fit the paradigm, we fit the mould in different ways.
We absolutely
even
do.
if it doesn't feel good to us. But being honest with yourself is acknowledging yourself as being unique, because we
Yes.
all are, what those unique things are, and maybe just going, well, hey, testing them out on the people around you and seeing who really is in line with you as a person and who perhaps isn't quite,
Absolutely. I mean, one thing I've found growing up is that through all the stages so far, and I'm in my 40s now, is that through the stages, you will always attract who you need in your life.
Absolutely.
The more I think we force or we try and pillar things too much, I feel like we don't allow the natural flow of things to happen. The people that I have in my life now are the ones that accept me for who I am.
Yes.
They embrace who I am. They encourage me to be who I am. They don't find me weird or strange or any of those things. They in fact encourage me to get out there and help other people, as you have. So I just feel that, definitely go out there in November and give that thing a go that you've been holding off. Absolutely. And honour yourself.
And or if you've been kind of monitoring yourself, moulding yourself away from those sort of like natural instinctive qualities that you have, abilities that you have, remember back to your childhood actually, like you were saying, you recognised this when you were very young.
Yes.
So when we're young, we're often able to see, perceive, feel, intuit, guess, imagine, all those things. They're all part of that psychic, intuitive aspect of ourselves. And we all have it. We definitely all have it. It's just that whether it's blossomed or whether it's been suppressed.
Absolutely.
And so, this month is a good month to start looking into that or looking at it. But how is that? So you recognise these things when you were quite young. So how have you been able to use what you know are some of those talents and abilities that you've got?
Well, for me, I've always been a natural empath, so that's really the start of it. For me, I had the ability to do quite a few things. So for me, not only was I able to connect with the other side, with spirits and things like that, for me, I was also able to, I knew my life before, I knew back to the contract I made to come into this life. I have full memory of my birth. And just various things that most people have forgotten. And I say forgotten because we've all made that life. We've all made that. It's just I can remember mine. So those were very, very first beginning things. Like I said, I used to have a lot of telekinesis ability and the ability to astro travel. I also had the ability to put my thought into, like for example, if I actually was able to make my sisters fight and things like that. So I actually had the ability to manipulate some situations, which I didn't really realise were a big thing while I was little, but obviously they're very huge things. My mother was, like I said, was very spiritual herself, and is actually a healer herself. She's been working in the therapeutic massage therapy industry for many years. In fact, when she did her training, I was 10 years old when she started doing her training, and after that point she became, at that time, one of the biggest therapeutic massage therapy businesses at that time, without it relating to any kind of other massage industry.
Yes.
And it was in Hawke's Bay, it was taken, as a very serious business.
Because 20 years ago, even it was still a very new kind of, not many people knew, not many people went to.
No, absolutely
like
not.
That. It was not many people actually put themselves out there in a business type form. So your mum was a pioneer in that.
She was. She actually, and it was quite interesting because she's always had gifts herself and was always honing my sisters and my gifts in the spiritual side, and always kind of allowed us free expression of who we are and who we are as girls and women and as human beings. And so she taught us a lot herself, and just allowed us, and she taught us to a certain point, but the rest was really our own enhancement of our own gifts. She just allowed us to freely...
She encouraged you and supported you to develop them.
To develop them, and that's really where it stemmed from. And then once she did her own training, as a mum of 4 at the time, 4 girls, she didn't want to be all over the show, so she ended up working from home, which is where my interest in it and the therapeutic massage therapy industry came in myself, because it's a fabulous medium for healing, and which is what my mother chose to do, to use her own gifts, was through that way. And so I started by answering the phones for her and greeting clients and, doing all that kind of reception-y thing. And then, interestingly enough, as much as my mum and I are loggerheads at times, we are very similar. So we have very similar passions. We've got very similar gifts. We're very different people, but my mother has taught me a lot about, and it has encouraged me actively to use my gifts. So when I did eventually decide, when I was in my early 20s, to go and complete a therapeutic massage therapy diploma myself at the Lotus Holistic Centre, that was my following, and by the time I got there, I had already had what I felt was years of experience from my mother, because they're things that, although even at holistic education colleges, they teach you X amount, and it is all very much about holistic wellness. But there's something about, you can be taught how to tap into yourself, but your own natural gift is something that can only be brought out of you. It's not like it can be made in you. You've already got the gift, and that's yours alone.
That's right.
And I always say that I believe everyone has one.
Absolutely, every single person has
everyone
more than
has
one gift, sweetheart.
Absolutely,
Gifts.
and many gifts.
Yes.
Absolutely many, and it's about just being in a space where you can freely develop, use them, recreate. It's a little bit of alchemy where you're the magician in a way.
Absolutely.
And you kind of are able to put the elixir together of what that person may need in their healing. So even though we were trained in therapeutic massage therapy, which is a very manual, hands-on job, and that's, ranging from Swedish massage, polarity, acupressure, deep tissue, all the pregnancy, neuromuscular, there were several aspects that we trained in. But my mother had also taught me about the spiritual side, which was the most important side, is to read the body first. And this was even before we touched somebody. So one of the things my mother was able to teach me before I did my own study was how to read somebody come up the driveway. So she would show me how she would, watch how they walked, watch how they were, what their essence and aura was like, what their energy was like, how they carried themselves, what parts of the body were drooping or, and what parts weren't. There, and then it's just, and then again, your intuition, your natural knowing underneath that, and how to tap into that, how to accept that what we're feeling about that person is what we're feeling,
Yes.
you know, because that was the other thing, was getting over, for me anyway, was I would feel all these things with people, and I did from a very young age, and then you would think, oh God, am I just, you know, overreacting? Is this, you know, sometimes you think, gosh, am I actually feeling from that person what I'm feeling? But I've learned to accept that, yes.
And it's not easy, is it, when you experience the feelings of another person? I know that for myself, is that it's knowing whether it's yours
Yes.
or whether it is theirs.
Absolutely.
And it can sometimes tag on to some of yours.
Absolutely it can.
And it's been able to separate what is yours and what is theirs.
Yes. And I think part of the human vibration comes into that, because we are all feeling, and, you know, and this goes back to the energy. We're all a vibration, and we're all moving. It's not a standstill force. We're flowing through the vibration of life, and we're meshing together. Yeah. So when we pick up on other people's stuff, that's very, very normal and to be expected, because we are literally in the vibration and in the energy field along with everybody else.
And, you know, we say, you know, that we pick up on a vibe. We say
Yes.
that, you know, the vibe of that person is good, not good,
Yes.
whatever. And so we use this in language, but we're not really believing what we're saying, or really maybe understanding, perhaps.
That's right. Again, I think this is all a forgotten language. I do feel like it's almost like, you know, through time we've lost the language of our knowing,
Yes.
you know, the real knowledge of ourselves. I call it the forgotten language, because it's there, it's not gone, it's just a little bit forgotten, a little bit, you know.
Because I feel we've been taught brain-wise.
Yes.
We've been taught to kind of like dissect, understand, judge, see everything from the brain aspect. And
Yes.
so therefore we question our kind of like our inner knowings. I mean, our instincts will come in when there's danger around.
Yes.
And even then, though, we will try and brain it out, you know,
We
think
do.
it out.
Yes.
And we won't be able to. So,
No.
so sometimes we do things that we go, I had a feeling about that.
Yes.
And that's all picking up on energy and vibration, and that means that that's a part of your being that, yeah, it's been kind of a little bit stymied, a little bit maybe ignored, a little bit
Yes.
forced down, and that this month for November, because it's all about us,
Yes.
is to kind of help encourage yourself to believe in yourself, perhaps, and maybe your vibrational pickups, your hunches, and I would say, don't just like with the empath is, there's a lot of empath in all of us, especially
Yes.
women,
Yes.
and don't just think that the feelings you are carrying are your own.
Oh,
Where
absolutely.
have you been? Who have you just seen?
Yes.
What kind of a vibration were they putting off? Were they feeling sad or were they feeling happy?
Yes.
It's like you've picked it up. It's like a cold. You know, we catch these things.
Oh, absolutely.
As we go around, you see enough people that are having a bad day. By the end of the day, whether you woke up with sunshine in your heart, by the end of the day, you're feeling perhaps not quite so sunshiny.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. No,
So, you do the massage,
Yes.
right? And this is how you use quite a few of your skills at this time.
yes, it is.
But you also do, you have learnt the tarot and you are doing the tarot. And
Yes.
so therefore you've got 2 services that you are offering at the moment to anybody who's interested out there. And if you've never had a massage or if you've never had a reading, see, November is the time you do things for the first time for yourself, to discover things. And how would somebody contact you if they wanted to set up a time for an appointment with you?
Right, so you can contact me on my cell phone number, which is 027 492 3530. Like Gail said, I do offer intuitive therapeutic massage therapy. I say intuitive because that's where my own intuition side will come in reading or analysing through myself what's going on in the body. And then, yeah, and also I'm now burnt the cards. So that's something else that I do offer as well. So yes, no, my cell phone, 027 492 3530.
Cool, excellent. So if you're interested in anything, if it's a brand new experience for you even to do anything like this, then hey, you're in the right month, because November's the real month to do these things. So on that note, we will finish with one more random card for some reason, just because we've got a few more minutes as well. So we will just have a little look and see, is there a surprise this month for anyone in general or everyone in general? So what would the surprise be? Guess what? If you're not in a relationship, you might just meet somebody that you get on really well with. Now, this doesn't mean it's a romantic one necessarily. It just means that this month is a very good connection out there somewhere for you. There is someone that you will, I don't know, you could literally click with them. It is the lovers, it is the relationship card that has come up. So it is saying that it is promising. And the other thing is that your relationships, no matter what state they're in, no matter what choices have been made, they can have very successful outcomes after some really huge struggles. And I'm not making this up. Sonya's here to verify that I'm seeing these cards. And again, if you would like to contact me either as well on any kind of personal reading session in the spiritual psychic realm, including tarot, my number is 027 4166 545, and Sonya, yours is
027 492 3530.
And on that note, lovely people, have an amazing November, but we will see you back in 2 weeks' time.
This program was produced by and first broadcast on Radio Hawke's Bay, your community access media station. Thanks to New Zealand On Air for making this type of programming possible.